Count money, man. Stack riches. Try and told him I'm a beast, bud.
What's up, gang? Welcome back to another episode of the GRINDcast. Get ready. It's a new day, and we're going to go over 10 leadership principles. And this may be a little longer, so we may end up breaking it into two sections, but it's 10 leadership principles. And we're going to first start out with number one is believe before you can achieve. And so, Josh, this mic is like running from me. Is that okay? Or should I grab it? Should I hold on to this thing like that? We'll come fix it. All right. I got it. So you got to believe first before you can achieve. And so understand that you don't have to believe 10 levels down, but you got to believe in the moment. You got to have some belief in yourself. And so the example that I was given to a group of people that I was working with today in our business is, you know, if you have aspirations, you come into our business and you have aspirations on being, you know, one of the largest organizations in the company, or, you know, one of the best trainers in the company. You may, I'm not saying in the beginning, your first 3 months, you got to believe that far down the road, although that it will only help you and it won't hurt you, but you definitely need to believe in yourself for the moment and say, man, I believe that I could be the best person in my training class. And I believe that I should be and could be the best salesperson in my organization, and just start there. With that belief, fostering the work that's necessary to make that a reality and just win at that level. So many times people start trying to, they have such a vision that they're looking so far down the road that they forget that they need to win at this level first. That you may need to win some games as an amateur before you can go pro. And if you can't win as an amateur, the chances of you winning as a pro aren't very good. And if you skip too many steps, it'll catch up to you down the road. And so let's use this as an opportunity to win in our current position. And so you got to believe before you can achieve, and you have to win at your current position, because winning takes care of all the other wants. Have the mindset that if somebody else can do it, you could do it too. That somebody else shows you what's possible, you could do the exact same thing. Number two, accept responsibility. So on a scale of 0 to 100%, when things go wrong, you can say, what percentage of this is my fault? What percentage of this could I learn and grow from? And that's the first place I want you to go. That's not a natural reaction. Most people's first natural reaction, as was my first natural reaction for years, is to blame, complain, and defend. Not to hold yourself responsible and accountable. And so what I've learned is that this is something that'll pay dividends in your marriage, in any relationship, in business, is out of 100% of this problem, can I look at a percentage of it and say, is it 5% of it can I own and say it's my fault and I can learn from it? Is it 50% my fault, 50% the other person's fault? So 50% of it I can learn from. But the growth is not in the other person's fault. The growth is not in what the other person can do. The growth is in what you can do. And so this is an opportunity from every obstacle or everything that goes wrong. This is your opportunity to make you such a better person, better business person, better whatever. As you look at that small piece of it, what percentage of that can I focus on my failures and setbacks and say, I'm going to use this and learn from this. And that's how we're going to get to the next level. And so I would suggest whatever the problem is, just try your hardest to dig in there and find out what part of the problem is yours. Because everything rises and falls on leadership. So at some point you got to take responsibility. You can't take responsibility for all the wins and none of the responsibility for the losses. The growth is in us taking accountability, and the growth is in us taking some form of responsibility. Okay, number 3, develop a few right-hand people. So if you look at it and you say, and let me rewind for a minute. So let me give you the example I gave. So in our sales business, we could say, well, your goal was 30,000 for the month and you only did 15,000, for the month. What happened? And so you got 2 types of people. You got one that says, well, it was the leads. They blame it all on the leads, or they blame it on some outside circumstance. And then you got others that say, out of 100% of this, I'm going to start out, let me own, I should have got better at referrals. I didn't do enough referral business. If I would have done that, this would have got me closer. I could have closed at a higher percentage. That would have got me closer. I could have made more phone calls. That would have got me closer. I could have showed up and worked on the weekends instead of showing up hungover a couple of the weekends because I went out too long on Friday or the weekend or whatever it was. They start out and they own all those areas and they say, but yeah, of course, if I would have had some more leads, it would have definitely, of course, it would have made an impact. So that's when I say out of that 100%, what percentage of that can you own? Because if you're the BCD person, if you're the blamer, complainer, and defender, you're not going to grow. But if you're the grower, you're going to have to be the accountability taker and looking at what percentage of that you can learn and grow from, because there's no growth in blaming, complaining, and defending. Number 3 was develop a few right-hand people. See, in life, you can only have one right hand at best. But in business, you could develop, in leadership, you could develop multiple right-hand people. You can have a few different right hands. And so how do you develop right-hand people? First of all, let's talk about the developing, but you got to care about them. So in order to develop right-hand people, you got to care about them and you got to serve them. So if I want to develop people, I have to care about them and I have to serve them. And understand sometimes caring about people and serving them leaves you vulnerable for hurt and pain, because over the years of me serving people and caring about people and trying to develop right-hand people, I've been blessed with some really good right-hand people. But I've also been blessed with some people that I had an opportunity to pour into their life, and for whatever the reason is, I'm not going to blame, but they moved on and did something different, or, they don't work here anymore. And this is over an 18-year career. And so I've had to make sure that I've kept the mindset of when I'm serving people and caring about people, I just got to do that. And that if they, for some reason, don't end up with us, that's not going to burn me out from wanting to pour into people, because I see that stopping people from building right-hand people, because they have been burnt in the past by pouring into somebody and the person doesn't last, doesn't stick, doesn't stay. And I think, again, there's that ownership and accountability part where you could say it's all on them, not doing it anymore. Or you could take ownership yourself and say, well, what was my true motivation for doing that? What was my motive? If my only motive in developing a right-hand person was to only help my business and to take things off of my plate, there's nothing wrong with both of those things. But if it doesn't have, I want to make that person better, I want to have an opportunity, I'm going to use this as an opportunity and a platform to impact that person's life in a positive manner. If they don't work out or whatever happens, that's okay, because you had an opportunity to impact that person in a positive manner, and they could take that skill set or take it somewhere else, and maybe they end up having a better life because of you and because of what you've poured into that person. And that needs to be the continuing spirit, or you're going to get discouraged, because you might have to try to mentor 10 right-hand people to have 3 true, legit right-hand people. So you got to care about them and you got to serve them. You got to find out, how can I serve you? If that means helping them, teaching them how to sell, if it means helping them get their oil change, if it means helping them do their laundry, if it means babysitting, if it just look for like what ways can you help serve the people as you're trying to develop right-hand people. And then the key word in that is developing. And developing is kind of like parenting. So developing a right hand is kind of like having a baby that's an adult. And that's why people don't like to do it, because it takes a lot of time and energy, because you got to teach the baby, right? So the baby first, they can't do nothing for themselves. They can't put their diaper on. You know, all these things have to happen. And you got to take care of them. You got to wipe them. You got to bathe them. You got to clean them. And then you teach them how to eat, teach them how to cook, teach them how to shower, teach them how to brush their own teeth, teach it. And it's step by step in this process that takes a long time. But all the parents tell you, enjoy it, embrace it, because it goes by so fast. So which one is it? And I think it goes by fast in leadership also. And it may take you 6 months of unbelievable mentoring and time with somebody to get them to eventually be a right-hand man. It may be super intense for 6 months. It's a continuation, just like being a parent. Forever you're a parent. Being a leader, forever you're going to have to mentor and lead and guide these people. But in the upfront phases, it may be intense for 6 to 12 months, like having a baby. And so in order to develop a right hand, you got to develop a right hand. In order to develop a right hand, you have to slow down, be patient. I do it, you watch, you do it, I watch, then you do it. I'm still watching. I'm patient with the whole process. All that has to happen. Which means you got to have a work ethic. And you got to have patience, and you got to have a work ethic, because like being a mother or a father, but I'm just thinking of my own life, my own wife, like being a mother, that is a lot of freaking work. I think in some ways being a stay-at-home mom is harder than being a mom that goes to work and then comes home and takes care of the kids. Because you got a job and you got to take care. That's hard. Either way, it's hard. And I respect it. But stay-at-home moms, there's like, man, it's 24/7, 365. The babies are needy. Right? So you got to have that work ethic. That's a grind. Being a mom's a grind. There's no sick days in being a mom. You can't say, hey, guys, I'm sick today, so I'm taking a week off, right? So you got to have a work ethic in order to develop people, to couple that with patience over time with the right heart of it may not work out, but that's the only way it's going to work out. And you got to build loyalty, and I think you should view it as one of the most important tools to having somebody be a right-hand person, loyalty. So when I look at loyalty, at first I got to tell you, when it comes to loyalty, someone being loyal, and there's a bunch of ways you could describe loyalty, but someone being loyal doesn't justify them being a right-hand person just because they're loyal. But the absence of it, I think, justifies them not being a right-hand person. Like, they can only get to a certain level if you're trying to build the right atmosphere, culture, or business. And I've done it wrong and I've done it right. I've done it right and I've done it wrong. But I'm looking at it and saying, with the wisdom I have now, the loyalty piece is like a prerequisite. But just because you're loyal doesn't mean that you're qualified to be a right-hand person, because you got to have knowledge, you got to have skills, you got to have results, you got to have all that also to be a right-hand person. So if you're not loyal, you can't be one. But if you're loyal, that's the start of being one. And then you got to have all the other things. And I think the best right-hand people have two traits, a lot of traits, but there's two that are sticking out to me right now that people may miss. And one is being coachable. the best coaches are the most coachable. The best students are end up being the best teachers. Right? So in order to be a right hand, I think they can't be afraid to take direction. They can't be bitter. That like you got to be able to take direction and carry out direction. But I also want, in a right hand person, I want them to be able to be open to giving me feedback, and them knowing that they could come to me and tell me if I'm doing something that's not benefiting us, if there's an opinion that they have that can make us better, if there's something that I'm doing that's annoying them. You know, once they get to a certain point, I welcome and want feedback in their opinions, even if it's a little bit different than mine, because I think in that debate, as we go through it back and forth in that debate, it's healthy as long as it's done respectfully the right way. It's healthy to where now we can produce the best outcome because of that communication level. Okay, number 4 is you got to lead with vision. Lead with vision. Lead people. Start out with vision and just lead people constantly with vision of where we're going, where you're going, where the team's going, where we are going, where they're going, what is their vision. Constantly casting vision, reminding them of their vision. I think part of leadership is vision. That's crazy that, you know, even in Proverbs it says where there's no vision, people perish. So in business, you could look at that and say, where there's no vision, people perish. What does that mean? Where there's no vision, you just lose people. They leave, they're gone because they're not attracted to the vision, because the vision isn't being casted, or you're not pulling the vision out of them. So we got to lead with vision constantly. And number 5, you got to be the example. And so when you look at be the example, lead by example, it's a tough topic because it's like, man, can't I just be a human being? You know, can't I be normal? And people think when they get into leadership that it comes with all these rights. And John Maxwell says that actually the higher you go in leadership, the less rights that you have. Because people are looking up to you. So, you know, in one of the books by Maxwell, it's the 5 levels of leadership. So the bottom level is position. That's where you lead based off your title. Level 2 is permission. That's where people follow you because of the relationship that you have with them. Level 3 is production. People follow you because you get results or you help them get results. Level 4 is people development. People follow you because of what you've helped for them to get promoted and you've helped for them to develop as a person. But level 5 is Pinnacle, and that's the hardest one for people to understand. But that's the level that's going to take you, that takes your business to levels that are sustainable beyond measure and bigger than beyond measure. Is that 5 levels, that 5th level of leadership is called Pinnacle. And it's really, they say that's the ultimate respect. And I think that is determined by the way you live your life. So people have to respect you in the way that you live your life and understand that the other 4 levels can be earned without that. So for example, let's say you're somebody, and I'm not judging, I'm just giving an example. Let's say you're somebody that you know, you cheat on your wife, you know, multiple times a year, and you're going to strip clubs all the time or whatever. I'm not judging, I'm just giving an example. And let's say you can give somebody a title in your business. You can build a relationship with them. They could like you. You can care about them. You can get results and still go and do those things. You could develop them in business and promote them So they can have all the way up to level 4 leadership. You can have level 4 leadership with those people, which is a high level of leadership, even though you're living your life like that. But you're not going to get level 5. And level 5 is ultimate respect level, where they would follow you anywhere. And I think it takes level 5 to get people, to get your company and business to go to extreme levels and to sustain extreme levels and to attract high level quality caliber people. You have to live at that level 5 the best that you possibly can. And when it comes to the level 5 and when it comes to leaders, and I talked about loyalty and all that stuff, understand, give yourself a little bit of grace that there's only been one perfect person to walk the face of this earth, and his name is Jesus Christ. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. Give a little bit of grace, not too much. Can't use it as an excuse all the time, but a little bit of grace. And even Jesus couldn't pick 12 perfect disciples. Even Jesus had a Judas. So don't knock yourself or look, man, if I had 10 people and this one was a bad apple or this one was a bad seed or this one did that, it's going to happen. The king had one. So what do you think's going to happen to you? So people got to follow you because they respect who you are and how you live your life. And so if you choose to be a leader, you give up your rights to wild out and do crazy things and have influence to people, because you got to lead people in the right direction. And so let's lead at a level 5. Let's lead ourselves well. Let's aim for that pinnacle level in leadership. So I'm going to stop there. After the 5, I'll give you the next 5 next week on the GRINDcast. And so I just want to thank you for your time this week. Thanks for spending some more time with us in the GRINDcast studios. If you think this helps anybody out there and you think it can impact anybody's life, please feel free to share it to some people out there. And we appreciate your time. And thanks for joining us on another episode of GRINDcast. Get ready. It's a new day.
Count money, man. Stack riches. Try and told him I'm a beast, bud.